Self-publishing versus traditional publishing. So now you want to write a book, okay? So when it comes to writing a book, you're trying to figure out, should you go the traditional method for publishing, or should you go self-publishing? Now, there are three main differences. The first difference is time, the time that it takes to publish your book. With self-publishing, it can take days with the discovery of ebooks. So you can do that overnight, 24 hours, depending on the content that you have. So you can do it as soon as within, less than 24 hours, depending on the, material that you have. The second thing is the money involved with the publishing process. With self-publishing, you pay for everything. With the traditional publishing, the author receives an advance. And third is control. Who's in charge of the publishing process? With a self-publishing process, you're in control of the process. You determine when you start. You determine, how long it's going to take. So it's up to you to determine the control. And for the traditional publishing method, the publishing house determines how long it will take for the entire publishing process. Now, you may ask, what is self-publishing? Self-publishing is the publication of any book, album, or other media by its author without the involvement of an established publisher. The traditional publishing method, a traditional book publishing company buys the rights to an author's manuscript. Part of the arrangement includes payment of an advance by the book publisher to the author to secure the book dealer. Now, I'm going to go over some comparison, and we've talked about most of the things already, but we're just going to compare self-publishing versus the traditional publishing method. The first thing is, with self-publishing, the author is 100% in control. The author decides when to proceed in all situations. With the traditional publishing side, the publishing house is 100% in control of the process. With self-publishing, the author becomes the publisher of their own book or their own work of art. With a traditional publishing method, the publishing house publishes the book. And when it comes to deciding when they want to publish, you, the author on the self-publishing side, again, you determine when you are going to publish your book. And as far as the traditional publishing, the author will submit a query letter or a proposal to the literary agent. The literary agent will get the manuscript and query letter or proposal to a publishing house. An editor at the publishing house will receive the documents, read the manuscript, and determine if it's right for the publishing house. The editor will decide to accept or reject the literary work. I'm sorry, I'm making all these errors. And if it's accepted, the editor will make the decision to publish the literary work. As far as owning the right to the work, the author owns the rights to the literary work if it's self-published. If it's a traditional publishing house, the publishing house will buy the rights of the book from the author. And if the work is accepted, the publishing house pays the author in advance on future royalties. As far as all the costs, the author on the self-publishing side pays all the costs to design, package, print, market, and distribute the book to the public. On the traditional publishing side, the publishing house covers all costs to design, package, print the book, markets the book, distributes the book to the public. Now, I've heard on some of the occasions with the traditional publishing, sometimes it's up to the author to market their book. So depending on the size of the publishing house, that could be true or false. I don't know, but I've read that recently. And as far as how long it takes to publish the book, with ebooks, it could take days or weeks to publish the book. It depends on the situation. And with the traditional publishing method, you may have a long wait and search for a publishing house to take interest. It could be up to a year or even longer. So those are just some main points for self-publishing versus traditional publishing method. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you. Thanks, Kendra. So today, while I'm waiting to see if anyone has any questions, I started a new thing that I'm going to do every Monday. Is going to be called Monday Follow Train. So anybody that likes one or two of my posts, I will do a Monday follow. So I will suggest that people follow you. Now, which do I suggest? It depends on the situation. If you are just starting out with writing, and you don't have a huge following, I would suggest probably using the self-publishing method. But if you have a established following, if you have, say, 10,000, 14,000 followers, I would suggest maybe, if it's a, great topic, get in touch with a traditional publishing house. Oh, no problem. Thank you, Dr. Matthews. So, another thing I want to talk about is I got an inbox maybe about 3 weeks ago, and the author of a book said that he initially went with a publishing house for the first publishing of his book, but he wants to relaunch his book. So he asked me, which way should he go? And I was thinking, I said, well, it just depends. If you want to maybe like revamp your book cover, and he said he was going to do some updates to the actual manuscript. And then I said, maybe get in touch with maybe a PR specialist or some kind of promotions person to help him, promote his book. And then he could do, a virtual book signing, he could do in-person book signings and do a book tour. So some of the things that I suggested was to, of course, update the information in his book, do a new cover, and then go, with some new promoting ideas. Yes, I provide consulting as far as new publishers, new authors. Yes, that's what I'm going to start in August. By that time, I should be ready to start. I'm going to start with a group coaching program, and then from there, we're going to, just change some things there. Thank you so much. I'm going to look up at the, see if there are any questions here. I don't see that there are any questions, but does anybody have any suggestions about things that you may want me to cover on a future live? If you do, you can DM me, or you can make a comment in the comment section here. Trying to think, is there anything else? If you have already completed a survey, if you can maybe, I'll send you the link. If you can maybe ask a friend or another follower that may be interested. Because what I'm going to do, of course, with your permission, some of the comments, because there are some sections in the survey that allow you to actually write what you think about success. Some of those comments, if they're really great, I might approach you and ask you if I can publish it in my book. So a good format to follow for your first book. So it depends on what type of book you're doing. If you're doing a nonfiction or a fiction, the first thing I think you should do is start out with an outline. That's going to be your guide. If you start out with a clear, concise outline, that's going to help.